Hello, and a huge welcome to our very first episode of The Calm in the Complicated. I'm Carrie Grant, and I'm so happy to finally be sitting down to do this. Now, joining me is Dr. Samantha Flynn, a University of Warwick researcher who supervises in Cerebra's Positive Family Connections project. Sam's not just an academic, she's an ADHDer and a parent to an autistic daughter, so she's truly living the real-world impact of her research every day. Welcome along.
Thank you. Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Really excited about this.
Me too.
Now, we've built this podcast as a bit of a safe space for families raising children with brain conditions. It's for the parents, the carers, and anyone who wants to understand what our lives actually look like behind the front door. So who am I? You might know me from the telly or the radio, but my real world is my 4 children, all of whom are neurodivergent. I know that feeling of sitting in a waiting room or staring at a form and feeling like you're on a different planet to everyone else. That's why I'm so invested in what we're doing here. But before we dive into the deep end, Sam, what's your why? What brought you into this community?
Thank you. Really good question. So I started working with them before I had children. So before I was a mum, and started to speak to people who were in the charity, and then became a mum 6 years ago to a daughter. And because of the work that I do and because of the family history that I have, we spotted signs really early, and we took her for an autism diagnosis, and she was diagnosed last year as being autistic. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was, I mean, I know we'll come to talk about this later on, but it was overall a really positive outcome and experience for us.
Raising a child is now at the age of 6.
Yes.
And obviously,
yes.
whether the diagnosis comes at 3, 4, 5 or 6, you're raising that autistic child. Has that changed how you look at research?
Yes, 100%.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
In what way?
So I think I live, as you said, I live the research. I live every day with what I'm looking at and who I'm speaking to. And I think it's given me more of a sense of purpose as a researcher. I've always had a passion and a drive for this area, but it's given me more of a sense of purpose. It's given me more of a drive. And I think I can see the research that I do from multiple perspectives. And I can see when a parent says that they are experiencing something, I have that empathy.
Yeah, of course.
And it's not sort of academic empathy, it's real empathy. I see it, I live it, I understand it. And I think it gives me a sense of greater satisfaction, I suppose, that I'm part of the community that I'm researching. And I think that there aren't enough.
I feel like you're coming from the direction of like the academic world down into the parents. I feel like I'm coming the other way up, where I've gone from the confusion of what's going on with my children. I don't understand any of the acronyms. I don't understand what's going on, and being completely ignorant to writing about it, writing books about it. And so, and I think for me, that side of it has really helped give me a voice. And I think so often as parents, we are so lost in our child's world, we do lose our own voices. And so it's important to have those opportunities to speak about what's going on.
Completely. And I see that in all of the work that I do. I really want to be focusing in on the real world experiences of parents. Yeah. I think I am in a really privileged position as a parent, that I do have, as you were saying, I do have that academic experience before I was a mum. So I bring that in, but with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
I have to take everything with a pinch of salt.
And can we just at this point say there is nothing like an SEND parent?
Oh, no.
They are the best parents. And this is what annoys me slightly, because so often we're really gaslit.
Completely.
And our parenting techniques are questioned and our home life's brought into question and all of that. But there is nothing like an SEND parent. They're the most dedicated. They're the most shape-shifted people on the planet. They are people that have contorted themselves in order to become that parent for their child.
Completely. But so often we're doing that alone.
Yeah.
And so often we don't have a village.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I'm seeing more, is that we don't have a village, and our experiences don't necessarily align to those of the other parents at the school gate. And
they really don't, and that's terribly isolating, isn't it?
It really is. And I'm
hoping we can cover all of this in this series, because there is so much to talk about. So what's coming up in this podcast series? We're going to have a little look at some of the subjects that we're going to cover. Of course, we could have covered about 100 subjects, and I know there will be people shouting into the ether, why are they not covering this? But these are the subjects that came up the most.
They are.
Day one. Let's talk about
Yes.
that. What is day one?
So we're thinking there about that moment of noticing something, that moment of identifying that there might be something there. You're seeing some signs, and also of the diagnostic journey of going through and getting a diagnosis, and that can be such a challenge, really, for us. It can take a really long time. So I think that's why we're being quite broad about day one, aren't we? And saying, actually, it is the point of noticing all the way through to that diagnosis and having somebody confirm and say, yes, you are right. You weren't imagining that.
I think for me, for the last 14 years, I've run a parent support group in my home. And we have about 300 families that my husband David and I work with. And so obviously you start to see patterns. I'm also autistic, so I love a pattern. But you start to see, hang on a minute, these are the experiences of many of those parents. And one of them is, well, that's just a fussy parent. Day one, like you say, you're noticing. From day one, we're kind of gaslit, aren't we? Into like, oh, it's just that overreacting parent. Particularly when you think about health, because health has a pathway. I think about when I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and then here's your pathway, and this is what you'll do. You get a diagnosis of autism, and it's like, okay, bye.
Yes, completely.
And you're left in this land of a new language. You're left with the world of acronym, where they're like, your child, we're just, go and see the Senko because your child might be ASD or have ADHD or ADHD, and you might need to see CAM, certainly see your GP. And you might have to apply for an EHCP.
Yes.
I'm in goo goo gaga land here.
Yeah. We need to have a degree in acronyms, don't we, really?
Yeah.
I think I think that's the thing, is that you were saying about the tenacity of send parents, and I think that is part of it. It starts at day one, doesn't it? That sense of, I must get the best for my child.
Those feelings around the early diagnosis and what it means to you, whether you're a single parent or parenting in a partnership. The kind of grief that people talk about. Now, I have to own up, I didn't feel grief.
No, me neither.
But I know that many parents do, and I don't want to diss parents for feeling grief, because I think that's a very real thing for many parents, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think I didn't feel the grief at the diagnosis stage. I have to check myself, and I have to see things through my daughter's eyes, and that she will have different experiences to lots of the other children in her class. But that's not a problem. That's not bad. And I think it was a case of me checking in with myself and seeing the world through her eyes. And if she's happy, then we're all happy.
So let's move on to the very sexy subject of paperwork.
Oh, gotta love it.
I feel that this is such an onerous responsibility on parents to learn the system, to know how to write emails, letters, follow it up. I mean, not that I've done this, but lots of parents have to contact lawyers, have the funding to do that. How is it for parents that, I don't know if English is your second language, or you're just not an email writer or someone that finds following things through easy?
Absolutely.
What are your experiences with parents?
It is really tricky, and I think it's tricky across the board. There are so many hurdles that we have to jump as parents, and I don't think that the paperwork and the problem with paperwork really starts when you're filling it in. It's knowing what you need to fill in at what time. And nobody, as you were saying with the autism diagnoses and so many other diagnoses, we don't get handed a little handbook of, here are all of the things that you need to know about your journey over the next X amount of years. So I do think it's a struggle. The system isn't necessarily set up.
It's complicated.
It's complicated, and overly so. And that does challenge a lot of people.
I know one of the things that was criticism that came against parents last year, there was I won't even say who it was, but there was a local authority meeting where they said, and these parents are getting together and they're telling each other what to do. And then they start making all these claims of different things. It's like,
yes.
there's literally no help.
No.
There is nothing for us.
No.
So of course we're going to get together. Of course we're going to share best practice because we want best practice for our children.
Absolutely. And I do think that there is a feeling for so many of us and them. And it should not be that way. When we are thinking about working collaboratively to support all children to thrive in a way that they can thrive in.
Yes.
How can we do that if we are us and them?
Yeah.
And that rhetoric about, parents are they're getting more out of the system than X, Y, and Z.
It's interesting. I hear two narratives from, and I feel sorry for teachers as well. But I do hear. I've got friends who are teachers. They say, "Oh, these parents, they just never stop. They're in here all the time." Or they're saying, "Trouble with those parents, they won't even attend meetings." Like, hang on, how can we both? We're both things, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah, but the paperwork is really difficult, and so we are going to cover that on this podcast. Because
absolutely.
It's an important one, and I think it's one, maybe it feels a little dry, but actually it's the area that so many parents are like, what do I do? What do I apply for? What does an EHCP mean even? How do I get one? How do I fill in all these different forms? Okay, this is a biggie. Sleep.
Don't. Preparing for today, I imagined myself getting lots of sleep, as you do, not really thinking. So I went to bed very early. Both of my children were up pretty much all of the night, and they took it in turns, and I'm sure that they colluded so that I didn't get any sleep.
I do wonder whether they have a sense of our anxiety, though.
I do.
Whether they're responding to that. They know
Yeah.
something's different. Mummy's not going to be here. Maybe if you've prepped them for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
but yeah, and it is something that I think we struggle with in a different way to so many other parents. I think there's being tired, isn't there? And then there's having all of the different elements of sleep that we have to get right. And the thing that I struggle with sleep the most is the lack of consistency and the lack of, we can have one night where both children sleep all the way through. The next night, both of them are up every 45 minutes. And there's no consistency. There's no predictability to that sleep.
And of course, we get lots of advice that's not really very helpful.
So
I'm really hoping by the time we get to that episode, we're going to get some really good stuff. I have to say, just to bring some hope, my children are all a little bit older now.
Okay.
And I go to bed, the joy of going to bed at 7:30 sometimes. And I just sit there watching reels, and I feel like life is a little bit easier at this point. It's nowhere near easy. I don't want to say that, but it's a lot easier than it was when they weren't sleeping.
Absolutely.
And I know many have adult children who don't sleep. And maybe I'm just in a good phase. Maybe the light at the end of the tunnel is the oncoming train. Okay, let's move on. Family, household and dynamics. Siblings, partners, parents.
Yes, absolutely. And I think this is the thing, isn't it? So we have to recognise that families are systems, aren't they? Families are systems, and we all impact each other. So if somebody is having a really tricky time of it, then we're all going to feel the impact of that. We are not living in isolation, and that can come into parents, grandparents, cousins even. And I think families, we don't all look the same. Families are made up differently. And we have to be providing that reassurance and support to families, regardless of how they look. We could have grandparents who are primary carers. We could have siblings who are sibling carers. And I think we need to be holding space and holding attention for every member of the family, because we are a system. Nobody lives in isolation.
And then for siblings, those lovely siblings that, you might be that person in the family that all the attention is going on the child that is in crisis. So then you have to grow up very quickly.
Yes, completely.
Finally, that leads us on nicely, actually, to mental health and well-being, a massive subject for our community.
It really is, and something that I am really passionate about in all that I do is promoting good well-being. And it is so hard to do that, though. It's so hard to, all of these self-help or self-care tips that we get so often shoved down your throat.
Oh my gosh, self-care for parents. Like I've got the time to be doing self-care.
Go and have a bath with candles. When am I going to have a bath with candles?
I have 3 children next to the bath going, where's my dinner? You need to come and read a book, and why aren't you listening to me?
Absolutely.
Not going to happen.
No, it's not. So I think it can, I think the strategies that we might want to have as parents will inevitably look very different to each other, but also to the general advice that's given. So it's so important that I think we pay attention to ourselves. We pay attention to how we're feeling.
That episode is about our mental health and well-being, or our child's?
Yes, mental health. So looking after the people doing the looking after.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to love this series. I love the way that I just learnt that on the spot. It's like, okay, that's what that one's. I was thinking it was about a child's mental health, but it's about us for a change.
Yeah, I know.
I like it.
Fancy that.
Life with a brain condition touches every single corner of your world. And I think that's why Cerebra is so vital. They aren't just looking at the medical side, they're looking at the living side. Families with a child who have a brain condition face daily challenges. Learning, playing and experiencing the world can feel impossible. But Cerebra believes every challenge can be overcome. They listen to families, work alongside them and innovate together. Through research and design, they create new equipment, resources and ways to play. To really understand Cerebra, you have to look at how they show up for us. It isn't just about awareness, it's about having a team that actually listens when we say something is impossible. Sam, we've done loads of talking here, but it's not just about us. We want this to be a space where your voices matter the most. Right from the very first planning stages of this podcast, we said it needs to be a real conversation and we need to be hearing from you because you are what makes it happen. We've got 2 great community messages to kick us off today from Nicola and Simona. Here's Nicola first.
My name's Nicola Hughes. I'm a parent carer to an academically able, autistic 13-year-old boy. There's lots of challenges, always, and I dip in and out of them. But the overriding challenge for me and the people I work with is trauma, the ongoing trauma of being a parent carer. The thing I always say to parents is, you are not the problem. Because for a long time, and still now, I am made to feel, and I have been told that I am the problem. I'm demanding. I make it hard for professionals. I am too articulate. I know too much about the law. I send too many emails. This message comes across that I am the problem. I'm not the problem, and other parents listening to this, you are not the problem. The system is faulty. There are lots of problems within it, and we may present challenges to the professionals we work with, but essentially we are not the problem. We're just trying to advocate and change things for the better for our children. I am fortunate. Because I'm a dog with a bone and I did what I needed to do, I suffered the consequences, but my child is now in a independent mainstream school with additional provision and he is thriving. He will get his GCSEs. I'm excited for him and his future and because he's getting an education that he can access. He's going to get GCSEs and that is amazing.
My first thought is that to be an informed parent is a negative thing.
I do hear this. I hear this often. I feel this as well. It's terrible, isn't it? That we can go in with all of the information and think that we've done the best that we can, and then sometimes that's not always what a professional is expecting from us.
I think it's very hard for the local authority to kick the can down the road when a parent knows their rights.
Yes,
so
definitely.
When parents learn this stuff, it's so helpful, which is what you're saying about the website. If there's this is now written in a simple way, this is how to navigate the system.
Yes.
So important for us to learn this stuff.
It really is. And I did pick up on Nicola saying that she suffered the consequences of getting her child the right support. And that just should not be this way, should it? We shouldn't be suffering the consequences.
To the point of mentioning the word trauma.
Exactly.
We should be traumatised by the system. Come on, guys.
We should be working
if we can
together.
co-produce it together.
Yes.
No one needs to get traumatised. It's difficult enough for the child.
Exactly.
I also just want to cover something Nicola says there, because I think that sometimes there's like a kind of, my child's got more difficulties than your child. But an academically able child that's in the wrong school can be catastrophic.
It really can.
And we must never, from my point, never underplay that. It's a really important point. I have children that are across all kinds of different schools, but sometimes it's that hidden child that's disappearing in mainstream school that ends up with the most difficult mental health problems.
Later on, absolutely. And I feel that and I see that. I really do. And I do think that, you know, whilst we all have different experiences of services, different experiences of our children, I think the point that Nicola made about that trauma, it just pervades so much, doesn't it?
Now, she's super grateful for an independent mainstream school with specialist help. I wonder how many years that took and how much trauma happened in the waiting.
Completely.
You know, that's often, I think, for our children, when I look at what happened in the end, might be good provision. If we're really lucky, we might get to that good provision. But that doesn't mean there hasn't been years of waiting for that provision to show up.
And at what cost?
And at what cost? In the long run.
In the long run.
We won't know that.
No.
That's what I'm going to ask you to research that. That's another research question for you.
I'll take it to her.
Okay, that was Nicola. Now let's hear from Simona.
I am Simona. I am 43 and very fully functioning Italian immigrant in the UK. I came here with my partner in 2018 after a decade on cruise ships and worked ever since. Had my son. He is 6 now. He has a diagnosis of nonverbal autism and global developmental delay. And from the bottom of my heart, he's a special needs kid. Everyone wants to have. He's my joy, my everything. There's a feeling also of loneliness when you hear a diagnosis, but you're really not alone. When you get the diagnosis and you pass that period of disbelief maybe, or just not wanting to see it, you got 2 choices. Either you start crying over, in Italy we say spilled milk, like something that's already happened, or you pull the sleeves up and you get to work. The real life positives is that we live in a world where we're taught that everybody needs to develop a certain way, and it's everybody's going left. He's not even looking left; he's literally going the other way. So it's very interesting to see the world through his eyes, because it's different. It's every day it's something new that just makes me treasure him for not wanting to fit in a way. It's difficult to fit in. Everybody doesn't understand. It's okay to be themselves, and he's teaching me how to accept myself as myself too. You know what? I would like to say something, not to the old me, but to the older parents that are now finding themselves with a diagnosis in the head or are awaiting a diagnosis. Just don't give up, keep fighting, and just trust yourself more than others, and don't necessarily depend on anyone else for your son's health. Just keep fighting, and you're not alone. That's what I like to say.
I love that. We're not alone. There's so much emotion in Simona's voice as she said, we're not supposed to all be the same way.
No, absolutely. And that's this diversity is, it makes the world an interesting place, doesn't it? And we are, unfortunately, I think, in a lot of ways conditioned into thinking that sticking to the norm is the safe way to be. It's the safe thing to do.
My interest was very piqued by the fact that she got the most emotional during what she was saying during that point, which is the true existence that we have of living in this world where normal is like an ideology, if you like, that we're all trying to stick to.
Yeah.
So while she's saying he's supposed to be different, she's nearly crying because you can tell there's that part of her that's saying, but he's growing up in a world that will other people appreciate my child the way that I'm seeing him.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to challenge that ideology of normal. Like who sat there? Someone somewhere sat there one day and just said, let's create normal and let's just decide who the insiders are and who the outsiders are. And then the whole world will operate on that system of normal. I'd like to stir the pot a bit on that and just see what it might look like.
I think you can do that very well.
Right.
I will join you.
Let's keep doing that together.
I really loved when Simona was saying about trusting yourself. I think it's so important because as well as that idea of being stuck to the norm and being normal, we can be so gaslit or conditioned to not trust ourselves, not trust our gut instincts when it comes to our children.
You are like the salmon in the river, aren't you? Swimming against every other little fish that's going by. You're going in the opposite direction.
Absolutely.
And that can feel, to trust yourself, to know that actually, no, I'm on this trajectory and I have to stay on it.
Absolutely, but it can feel like you're alone, and
isolation is
real
huge.
Isolation. And I think that's where we need to be building villages for each other, don't we? For ourselves, for our communities. We are not alone, even though it does feel like we're alone. I
think that's the biggest form of self-care.
It really
I would say
is.
It's why I started my support group. I think that is self-care.
It definitely
showing up in the
is.
room and hearing people's stories and thinking, oh my goodness, I thought I was going mad and they've got the same story as me.
And I really like to see it as we are all in different boats, but we're traveling down the same river, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're traversing rapids at different times. We might experience those rapids in different ways, but we're all in the same river.
Yeah.
We're traveling together. I also really loved Simona saying about how her child is teaching her to be herself.
Oh, they do. They raise us, don't they?
Don't they just? And we can learn so much from our children. We learn so much from being their parent and from seeing how they navigate the world.
Yeah.
Seeing the world through our children's eyes is sometimes such a powerful gift.
Well, you rediscover your own humanity. You realise what it means to be human.
Absolutely.
For sure. I love that these two callers have given us such a lot to think about. We love hearing from you. So if you'd like to send us an email or community message, please send it to calm@cerebra.org.uk and we might use it in a future episode. We're going to have to wrap it up there for today, but what a start. And if you need any of the information we've mentioned today, it's all at cerebra.org.uk. We'd love it if you could share this episode with a friend who might need it. And if you have a second to leave us a review, it really helps other families find this community. Take care of yourselves and remember, you are not on your own.
See you next time.
Bye.